There are tales that should never be told, and incidents that would have been better left undone. In places far from the light, in the heart of the night, when the wolf returns to the edges of the forest, our destinies intersect with a dark world of secrets and the dead. There is no place to hide, no way to escape. Our footsteps leave their trace, red dust rising into the air, and shadows surround us from every side. We discover that reality can be far more terrifying than we ever expected, and that courage is not only facing death, but facing what we never knew even existed. What you are about to hear is the testimony of someone who was never meant to survive and never expected to see what he saw. Turn off the lights and listen. Harry said as he tore the piece of paper between his fingers. I congratulate you on the note you left me last night. I left my room to smoke a cigarette and found this paper in which you begged me to rescue you. He threw the scraps of paper out the window and said, But for God's sake, why did you ask me to rescue you before anything even happened? I said to myself, if I didn't return by the time you woke up in the morning, I would certainly be in trouble. Then the word rescue me would be very appropriate. But if I returned, the note would be of no importance, because I would wake you myself in the morning. My problem is that all my friends are geniuses. I thought modestly and said, So now what do we do? Do we continue with this matter? You mean the old woman's prophecy? The bartender and Gabriel, everyone agrees that some disaster will happen to us, a safety period of 2 days, perhaps 2 weeks. In any case, the sorceress's prophecy speaks of 2, perhaps 3, as you say, which means we might have 2 months, or maybe 2 years. Harry said as he paced my room with his hands in his pockets, distracted. In any case, I think, and you agree with me, that if we take this threat seriously, we will never respect ourselves afterward, I said gently. But what is the harm in leaving this island? I don't really like it much, to be honest. Because that is cowardice. He said it as if spitting, so I did not want to provoke him. At that moment, Linda and Jimmy returned from their tour of the city, which they had decided to take that morning despite my objection. Linda was tense and angry, and Jimmy was suspiciously nervous. There was something in Linda's face I did not recognize, but it was different. Now I understood. Her appearance was disturbed and somewhat ridiculous. A large lock of her blonde hair had been cut off from the right side of her head, making her look as if a very clumsy hairdresser had tampered with her. Linda? I said it jokingly as I pointed at her head, but she did not laugh and shouted angrily. A woman wearing a red headscarf had slipped behind her in the crowd of the market and with hellish speed pulled out scissors, grabbed a lock of Linda's beautiful hair, cut off a considerable portion, then fled before Linda even understood what had happened. There were only looks of pity and confusion on the faces of those who witnessed the scene, as if they had seen it many times before, as though to say, here is another one. Harry said, trying to ease the tense atmosphere, She wanted a golden souvenir, my dear, and she got one. Linda said through her teeth, If that wretch had fallen into my hands, I would have eaten her heart. You are a man and do not know how much a woman loves her hair. As for me, what had happened seemed somewhat familiar. A woman wearing a red headscarf, meaning, with a bit of imagination, a gypsy. And the matter of taking a lock of hair reminded me of the practice of athar, used by sorcerers in our Egyptian countryside. A lock of a man's or woman's hair is placed in a cloth doll and harmed in various ways. And supposedly, this harm is automatically transferred to the owner of the hair. This seemed familiar, but I did not dare share with either of them my thoughts and vague private fears, which would only provoke their terror or their ridicule. So I kept this frightening idea locked in my head and remained cautious. The sun set, and I was sitting in a cafe sipping a cup of scented tea when Harry entered the place and sat at my table excitedly. Let's go, I said calmly as I added sugar to my tea. That is not a bad suggestion, but I think I have the right to know where to. He shouted in irritation, not knowing whether he was laughing or yelling. Will you not stop these cold, pretentious replies? Get excited about something just once, and then you will understand life. You forget that my teachers were English, and they are all very cold, and think that you Americans are a bunch of wealthy lunatics? Come on. Then he took a sip from my cup of tea and whispered, It is the night of the living dead. Wonderful. I swear to you, tonight is the religious festival of the Voodoo sorcerers, and they perform the rituals of creating zombies. Imagine that, my boy. And who told you that? The river near a village called. It's the old woman Angela who sells flowers next to the hotel. She told me they perform their rituals behind. He scratched his head in frustration. These damned names all sound the same, but what does that matter to us? He slammed his fist on the table, shouting, "Don't you understand? We must go there." Have you gone mad? It's the opportunity of a lifetime. I have the camera and the recorder in the bag. And we will go there to record the first voodoo ritual the world has ever seen. I will send the photo of the creation of the zombie to Life magazine. It's glory. And do you think no one has photographed this before? Of course, my boy. What you have just heard is not the end. It is only part of the picture, a small fragment of a longer chain, where every answer creates a new question. Some secrets are never buried, and some nightmares do not end when you wake up. There are still details yet to be revealed, faces that have not appeared, and truths which, if you were to know them in full, you would wish you had never known. Until we meet again, remember, not everyone who survived has truly survived.